So I'm sitting in the auditorium in fifth grade, unbeknownst to me, about to have my whole life change and whole plans and trajectory altered. The curtains finally open, and I see a bunch of kids who didn't look too far off from my age holding a bunch of instruments. And they're playing these songs, and I'm mesmerized. And at the last song, the director says, I froze up at a performance, and thankfully Dylan stepped in. And this kid walks up, and I'm like, "What is he doing there?" And he starts conducting the band, dancing, having a good time. And I'm like, "I'm sold. I want to go do that." And this kid, I eventually ended up going to middle school with because that middle school was literally next door, and he was like, I think he's only one grade higher than me, so he was a sixth grader doing this. Nah, he had to be like two grades. No, he might have been only one grade higher than me. So he's in this viral video called Hot Scots. It's a like drumline thing at a talent show, and they won the talent show every year. No big surprise because they were awesome. They have like millions of views on their videos if you type in like Hot Scots Lake Howell High School Band. But anyway, I my as soon as I got my sheet to fill out all the stuff for my middle school classes, first thing I thought about before I even put my name even was band. I like wrote that down on the elective sheets. I looked for the number, wrote it in, triple checked it, and all summer until I turned it in, I was like, make sure this piece of paper stayed safe, making sure I did everything right, because that's just kind of the type of person I am. So let's get this started. I get to band, and here's what we learned. So I started off with clarinet because everybody else was already playing trumpet and flute, and I'm like, I don't want to be like those guys. Little I know, clarinet there'd be like 27 clarinets when I got to college and stuff. But anyway, I'm like, I'll take a clarinet or something, and that's what I ended up sticking to. So I get a used clarinet. I'm sitting there in band, and the first things we're learning before we get the instruments, we're just learning reading notes. All the stuff you learn in like elementary school still, but reading notes, like being able to see eighth notes, quarter notes, 16th notes, and I think the highest we went to like eighth notes is freshman year or sixth grade at that point. So sixth grade band, that was just beginning band, eighth notes, and playing a scale. I think we learned three scales. The first three scales actually because they don't have many sharps or accidentals. F has only one flat, B flat, C has no sharps or flats, and then G has one sharp. So we learned those three scales. So F, C, and G scale. And here's the difference between the sixth grade band and eighth grade band. We learned Ode to Joy. The eighth grade band learns Beethoven's Ninth Symphony of Light. So those are basically the same thing, except one's dun 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 dun, and the other's Beethoven's Ninth Symphony of Light. So that's like all of middle school. It's just I think by the end we learned seven scales. So those scales were F, C, G, B, E. Wait, that's backwards. Oh yeah, because we're going by order of sharps. So F, C, G, D, A, E, B. I swear I've done this before. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yep, that's all seven. Now I think we might have learned some flats. I think we only learned a few flats and a few sharps, so it would have been F, C, G, and then D, A. We didn't go up to E, and then we went B flat, E flat. And I don't think we did A flat because that's four flats. So I was 13. I turned my birthday's in May, so I turned like 14. I turned 18 like at the end of high school, so I would have been turning 14 at the 13 at the end of middle school. So let's see. By the end of it, skip this because that's just me not getting a jazz band because I wasn't good enough. So F, C, G, D, A, and B flat, E flat. So that's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven scales. So then everything changed when I got to high school. And just a little quick story. In high school, I was late because I was like, where's the band building? Everybody else went to uh the band camp, but I went to like a summer band camp, like middle school level. So one of the guys there, the trumpet, like the lead trumpet player, he's like, "How come you were at the middle school band thing and not here for band camp?" And I'm like, "I didn't know they were different things." And he's like, "Wow." So I walk in and everybody already knows the band room. Everyone's seated watching a PowerPoint because it's the first day of school. I walk in sweaty with my clarinet, my overfilled backpack, and like probably something in my other arm, like hitting the door and stuff. 245 pounds, the fattest like middle school you ever seen, well, high school at this point. And my friends Jackie and Julie, two other clarinet players, they were like, "We thought you were a girl at first." I had like long straight hair, and Julie says, "Yeah, and if you were a girl, you'd be really ugly." Just a fun fact I wanted to throw in. But yeah, I'm sitting there, I'm late. There's a flute player who was also late, but she had my spot. So like she was leaving halfway through the year, so I had to like shadow her, and not halfway, but like halfway through the marching season. So I had to shadow her to like earn my spot back because she was like with the clarinets. So eventually, when she goes off to do whatever she's doing, I actually get the spot that's supposed to be mine, and I'm marching with them. And it was a lot to learn all at once, learning the marching technique, then learning the music. The music has to be memorized because you don't march with music. This Let me start writing this stuff down. So marching, memorize. Oh, you can't. Let me zoom in. My handwriting's messy enough. That is the highlighter. My handwriting is messy enough. I'm not gonna make you struggle through this. Did I not just erase all that? I guess not. Not right now, kitty. I'm doing very important reminiscing. Marching, and then what else I said? Oh yeah, memorizing. And then we had to learn stands music, so having a little, that's when we had the sheet music, the little songs we play in the stands. That's not important, but like 16th notes galore, and the clarinets were expected to like play high notes, and now like the music is a big jump in difficulty. Like it wasn't crazy in the lower level band, but the next my sophomore year I got into the upper level band, and that's when it started getting crazy. Ooh, 16th note. Oh wait, no, sophomore year I think I was still in the lower level band. Then junior year I think I went to the upper band. So 16th notes galore, high notes, and this is all still on clarinet. I think my freshman year I did get a guitar from the mayor because my family was very poor, and my dad signed up for one of the Christmas present programs from the city. So the mayor delivered this guitar. She got me with a guitar lesson. And though I didn't play much guitar until very recently, which I'll get into later, it was like my first like little introduction to it. An acoustic guitar, hard to play. I wasn't good at it. Everybody let me know I wasn't good at it. Just like with clarinet. Oh, let me circle back. When learning a new instrument, my family wasn't the most supportive. Like, of course, my parents did get me the instruments. We were poor, but they made it work. They did whatever they could. But while practicing it, I was still like, clarinet is one where if you can't get the air pressure right and can't get the embouchure right with your mouth shape, it squeaks, and it squeaks a lot and often. And they never failed to let me know that I was squeaking and that I sounded like a dying cat. My first girlfriend, which I got at the age of 21, also said the same thing. Just so if I blow up and act like I don't know nobody, that's why. So I was like, I think the wait, no, my sophomore year I was in the upper band. So 15, I'm in the upper band. Woohoo! 15, 16, I'm in the upper band. We're playing even harder music, but still like all the music techniques I'm going to talk about later, we're not really getting into because this is still band class. It's like it's not for they're not making you learn all the stuff you need in a music career because some of these kids are just here to be in band, and it's like a fellowship. We all hung out in the band room. We're all band nerds. We, unlike the football team who love to make jokes, we actually won stuff unlike them. So we that was a big point of pride for us. We were super strict. Like you couldn't curse in the band room, no food or drink. We took it very seriously. Like band marching band comes from military tradition, so we kept that military tradition alive. Believe me. You can't even make out that harder. So harder music, and not much change, honestly. But when I was 17, what year is that? That's about 7 years, more like 6, 7 years into it. That's when I joined jazz band, and you had to learn to improvise, which is all by ear. And my friend Christian Ryan, who is the man in Orlando for saxophone. What are you animals doing? Are you just tearing up a piece of cardboard sitting on the floor? They must hear me talk and think it's time. I need his attention now. I get to jazz band and learning to improvise, and I'm just someone who didn't like learning stuff by ear because it's hard at first. You have to like sit down there and get something wrong a bunch of times, which you think as a musician, getting stuff wrong until you get it right, I would be able to jump into that more easily. But I eventually kind of got the hang of it, but I was always overthinking it instead of feeling it. And all I had to do was sit down, listen to some songs, and like try to play them out. That's it. I'm putting you in a pie. Good lord. So yeah, jazz. And that's basically all I have to say on that matter. Jazz. Um, any new developments? No new developments really. Just jazz. And then my senior year is when I took 17 and 18. I took I took another band class to learn euphonium, and I had jazz band. Oh, in jazz band, I didn't play clarinet, I played saxophone. So could have mentioned that earlier, but not a big deal. They're like pretty similar. I consider saxophone way easier because the fingerings are the same in the octaves. Clarinet fingering switch octaves. Well, yeah, like jazz, and then 17 to 18, I took a music theory class. Bro, what am I doing? I journal every day, by the way. Sometimes my handwriting looks phenomenal, but I think I just write too fast. So, music theory, that's one class. Second class was upper band. I asked my band director, and he said, yes, I took lower band so I could learn euphonium. Oh, no, I learned music theory in junior year, so that would have been 17 still. But yeah, so scratch that out. Look, I'm about to turn 30. My memory is getting pretty old. So upper band, lower band, and then jazz band. Three band classes because I am a band nerd through and through. And that's when I played a really hard solo. I had to hire a pianist. And it was one way too hard for me because the pianist let me know this is a university level piece and you have an instructor and you guys work through it for months and months. And I showed my clarinet teacher and she's like, huh, maybe at the end of your time here we'll get to this piece. It was called Premier Rhapsody. And I'd practice like literally 4 hours a day. I kind of got through it, but there was a lot of flubbing and a lot of me my way through it. So jazz band, upper band, lower band. Still no real big developments. And 18 and 19, I go to college. Heck yeah, bro. I was having a great time. So 18 and 19, I'm in college. I'm feeling good. I joined Phi Mu Alpha, which also Mr. Rogers was in that. I think he was inducted in like 1975 or 85, or was it 65? One of those years. Great dude, Mr. Rogers. Didn't know him personally, but heard he was all right. But yeah, Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia and a National Secret Music Society. And the funny thing about that is, besides Mr. Rogers, I'm not gonna speak much on it because it's a national secret music fraternity. Don't tell anybody. Spread the word. But we had like rituals and stuff, which were pretty cool. But like not like the. I think that year was a year that FAMU drum major got like hazed to death. So like at every event, like it'd be a lot of cool secret stuff, a lot of cool like initiation stuff. But they'd be like, hey, a reminder, if you don't want to do any of this, you can just say no. If you don't want to do any of this at all, you can say no because they are really keen on not get shut down. But when I finally got through my rush phase, I was joined by our new dean of the school who was inducted, and I was standing next to him in a toga. And then our band director was in the audience because he was a member of the fraternity too. And I was just like, wow, college is weird. and that was pretty great. Another, I'll I'll tell you a story from college, music college. My clarinet teacher was hitting the booze during my lesson, and she let us know in studios that depending on how our technique juries would go, she'd either have vodka, scotch, or whiskey. And I'm sitting there, and as she's looking through my music on my stand, I can smell the scotch. So I'm like, all right, we're at a level two. And she's telling me the same thing all my band directors and music teachers have ever told me. Something I'm paying $50,000 for, but still won't listen to. Slow down so that you can get it correct, then start adding speed. And I'm just flubbing notes, flubbing, doing the same passage over and over again. And like at this point, she's usually writing notes, but I look over my stand and she's just sitting there staring at me like, so she's like walk around pacing again, and I'm just playing it, and I'm just like getting flustered at this point, probably getting a contact buzz. So at one point, she puts her head on top of my head, and I'm like, oh, I done messed up. And she's like, you didn't practice, did you? And I'm like, nope. So she's just like, go practice and work it out. See you next week. And as I'm leaving, she starts switching it up to whiskey. So fun stuff in college. But yeah, college was different. And I'll I'll do 19 through 2021. I wasn't legally allowed to drink yet. So I think it was 18 through 20 cuz I dropped out my third semester cuz after scrambling to get the like 3,000, 2,000, 5,000 left over not paid by my loans or scholarship each semester, I was just way too broke to keep on paying for it. So like I couldn't go back. I was like really depressed, but we'll talk about it later. So 18 through 20, so I'll write that in there. Here's all the stuff I was responsible for. Practicing my friends who were great like freshman principal chairs, they practice like 6 hours a day. One of my friends was like, I only practice 4 hours a day. He was like stressed out, and I'm like, 4 hours, 3 hours is like an amazing. I feel like I accomplished something, but it makes sense if you're gonna commit your life to it. You want to spend the whole day doing that thing. So like, it was a lot of practice. I love that I could go in at 2 a.m., swipe my card, get into the music building, and access the practice rooms. I felt like so cool doing that. And I went to Stetson, which had a beautiful campus, so it was lovely to walk at night. Also, I longboarded most of the way. So practice. We also had studios, so like all the clarinets would meet for studios together, all the majors at least, and we talk about clarinet stuff. Some people perform, we'd critique them, do stuff like that. And then we had clarinet choir. So clarinet choir was I loved that my whole time was spent doing music. Clarinet choir was just all of us like playing different clarinets. So like the regular B flat clarinet, soprano. Then you have the alto clarinet, which is a little bit deeper. Then you have the bass clarinet, which is deeper than that. Then you have contra alto, which I loved. It was like big and just made a beautiful sound. Then you had the contra bass, which I'll try to pull up a picture if I can, but the one we had was metal and it was taller than me at 6'2" at the time. And I had to sit on a stool. It wraps up, comes down, the mouthpiece came to me like that, and it was amazing, but it took a lot of air, and I'm glad when I finally like got it sounding good, I was so happy. I'd nail my parts in band class and just be ecstatic. There was a lot of times I was just reading tuba parts. So yeah, I played contra bass. She probably put me on that 'cause, like, you're a big boy, you can handle that. Contra bass clarinet. We also had music history, listening to some of the greatest pieces of all times, and then I wouldn't. They'd be like, "All right, we're going to go listen to this beautiful romantic piece by Tchaikovsky," and I was like, "I don't really feel like doing that," so I didn't. Even though I'm paying $50,000 to be there, and it's one of the greatest pieces of all time. My friends introduced me to League of Legends, who I thought was the stupidest game of all time, and I played it. Still thought that, but I was mad that people were beating me, and I was so bad at it, so I decided to spend hundreds of hours to it. League of Legends might have ruined college for me. I'm still gonna keep writing this stuff down for my thoughts, even though it's probably illegible. Most of this is illegible. We also had oral training, which is basically being able to look at music and like sing it without like playing it on a keyboard or getting a first note. Also, dictate oral training is also dictation. So someone they place it on a keyboard, you have to write out the notes, write out the rhythms, teaching us a method to like transcribe. So oral training. college music theory, which was since I didn't remember it, I didn't test out of it, but like I just slept most of the class and the teacher would wake me and my friend up and she'd be like, well, what is this? And I'm like, oh yeah, to get a minor third, that's three steps. C C to D sharp, C to D, D to D sharp. No, it's C to C sharp, C sharp to D, D sharp to E sharp. Hey, that's right. So like it'd be something like that, and then I'd go back to sleep because it was like at 8 a.m., which I didn't like. And then oral training, music theory. Oh, upper band. That was like I think that was 2 hours of rehearsal, maybe three. But upper band, like it was no joke. You show up on time. I showed up as band was starting once, and director came to me afterwards, like, "Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Huh?" Because I was like late to a lot of this stuff. So like, but like the director comes to me, is like, "You showed up on time and weren't ready to play," and I was like, "Oh yeah, my bad, Dr. Phillips. Won't happen again." Pet band where I was able to make some money, which I desperately needed. That kept me afloat. Had a little fun money, just buying snacks and buying food. So pet band was like playing at the basketball games. We didn't have a football team yet. They got it as I was leaving, and pet band was a lot of fun, yelling stuff at the enemy teams. All this band stuff was great. It's like not necessarily a lot of stuff I was learning, but it was a lot of music experience I was happy to have. What did I do besides that? Music theory, Phi Mu Alpha, got all that stuff. Oh, and like here's some actual music I played. I played the Saint Song Sonata. I love that one. You basically sit with your clarinet teacher, and after you do all your drills and scales, I'll say some of the stuff we're playing now because we've gotten past that high school stuff. So for clarinet, there's techniques different for everyone, but I was playing clarinet at the time still. So it'd be like technique drills, like finger exercises, just stuff meant to trip you up that you could get used to. So if you see it in a piece of music, you would like already be ready for it. Then like altissimo, which means a very, very high register. Like if hey, stop. If you didn't have a reference pitch, you might not even know those are real notes. But we base for this stuff, you play a tone and you start playing notes around it, trying to tune to the dissonance. So you'd hear the waves in one ear from the high note and the waves of like a lower note from the tuner. It was kind of trippy, and I tried to only do it when no one else was in the practice room. Altissimo, good enough. Altissimo studies, and then there's one more. Oh, just fluidity study, like fluid movement, like doing alternate keys and stuff. So fluidity, and then a lot of it was like we after we did all that stuff, that was like we do that. That was like a warm up. Also, kept a journal, and that my clarinet teacher would read, and then I'd actually what's it called? Oh, play a piece. So the pieces you play it with the piano because that's traditionally how the solos are done. So you play your piece and you practice with your professor, and you also have to find a piano player. So I chose a student Tom who played the organ or organ major, and he was looking to make money. That's how they made money. So I'd play with him, and then I'd ask him how much he wanted to charge, and he charged me for that for the rehearsals plus the performance at my jury. Like everyone has a jury sometime during semester, and to make sure people attend, they're worth credits, so you got to show up so you can get the credits. So yeah, performing with a piano player, and it's great, great. It's a great thing that I don't know how else you would teach clarinet if you didn't have that. But yeah, just now thought about adding the stuff we were playing, but most of the stuff in high school was just the music we were playing with like some solos here or there. And then after that, I couldn't afford anymore, got really depressed. I didn't play clarinet for like 2 or 3 years. I only like played video games every day. Every day I just woke up, played League of Legends, went to bed really late, ate like crap, finally got a job after like 9 months. Like my dad was trying so hard to get me pumped up about music and stuff because that was like my passion, my life. It worked out in the end because I got back into it, but like I just didn't want to touch it. I'm like, if I was meant to play clarinet, I would have been good enough to stay in school and stuff like that, just breaking my father's heart. Like it's hard to get a parent to, especially a black dad, like those well, all the black dads in my family are present for their children, but like stereotypically, it's a lot of people don't grow up with fathers, but like my dad was not only there for me, but he was like my number one cheerleader. So he's like trying to get me back passionate again. And eventually, s- since I couldn't like get over not having music, I just I got into production. So I think around the age of like 23, I got into music production. So that's when I like bought a little keyboard and I started doing that. And like after my first song was called Stupid Simple. You can look it up on Spotify by Afkai. I think it's by Afkai. And like it was basically I'm like, okay, for the first one, let's not overcomplicate it. Let's make the easiest song we can make. So I started with melody. And to this day, it is one of my favorite pieces ever just because it's just stupid simple. And to me it's fun to listen to. It's like a first step on my musical production journey. And on my SoundCloud, I actually have a lot of music that's very old that I really like. Because I was like doing it every day, and I only made video game music, which I didn't think there was a big market for, but is the music genre I really like. That's probably why it came out so well. And to this day, I keep thinking, why haven't I gotten back into just making music like that every day? That way I'll enjoy it more. Because I don't enjoy it because I'm bad at it because I don't do it. So yeah, stupid simple music production. And then like around 24, at my like job at a factory, like the we all loved video games, so the CEO was like, let's make a little gaming project. So he bought me, I think at that time I had like cracked Fruity Loops or cracked Ableton or something. Just wasn't really using it that much, but he he bought Presonus for the work laptop, and I fell in love with it. That's why I use Presonus today, because we were trying to get Ableton to work and he wasn't sure where to purchase it because he's not a music producer. So he's like getting mad at it, and I'm like, I'm looking up DAWs. I'm like, we could try Presonus because it looked cool to me, and turned out I really liked it, and that led me to making more music. So that whole time, like when I've had a falling out, I bought Presonus on my own, slowly upgraded to like the studio version as I got money. So still just like music production all the way down here, wasn't doing much else. And I think at so according to my Instagram, I scoped the picture and I saw like my guitar in the background of one of those. So that means I must have bought that guitar in 27 November 2017. So November of this year will be my 7 years of playing. So I've been playing for about 6 years now. So 6 years taking it back is like end of 2017, beginning of 2018. So taking my age back, that means I was actually playing guitar around this age. Hmm. So I guess production was must go back to around like 22. Well, I guess there wasn't as big as a gap as I thought there were. It was like production for 2 years. I added guitar and mix, started teaching myself. I think around 24, probably like 6 or 7 months into guitar, that's when I got good enough to join my church gig. And like the piano player who was the music director was like, hey, you got to be able to play to be able to play with us because church music is crazy. And he didn't want me going up there embarrassing them. So I bring in my amp to a rehearsal. And at this point, I'd mostly been just jamming along the jam track. So if I heard a key, I'd find a key and then I turn up the amp and then I just start blazing a solo. And that's all they really want to hear is like me be a lead player, which I was always scared to do because I'm like, I felt like a fraud because I only really knew how to solo. And that's pretty much what they want. So I feel the purpose, but that's how imposter syndrome can trick you. But like, yeah, church is like 6 months 6 months into guitar, and I'm having the time of my life, and now getting paid to make music finally. So back at like 18, all my friends are already playing at this place called the Red Lion Pub that used to be in the area, which my friend Christian Ryan, great sax player in Orlando, I told you about. His mom used to own that, and like everybody would go perform there, take their bands there, and they were doing what I really wanted to. And I tried to like kind of get into it, but I still got scared away because I'm like, oh, there's so much more ahead of me, head ass. But yeah, so that's how that worked out. And yeah, did church for a while. I think around like 25, 26. My friend Tony, who I went to high school with. Funny thing about Tony is Tony started his instrument sophomore year of high school, and like here's how my brain, like, perception's weird because I was like, oh, he's starting sophomore year of high school, he's gonna be so behind. And I'm like, it's gonna take him forever to catch up. And like 6 months later he's playing with the best of them, not the best of. He's playing all right at a good intermediate to upper level for high school standards. And I was like, huh. Turns out now that our brains are a little more developed than our little middle school brains, this is a lot easier to learn. So that really changed my perception of how things can be taught. Like with photography, I picked this up. I got my first gig the first day I had that. Well, booked my first gig. Went out, took a bunch of pictures, and I was definitely ready. But I always thought you had to go to school specifically for photography to be able to take good photos. When I already had an artistic eye from years of drawing and stuff. So these little thoughts can get in your head and ruin your perception because I believe anyone can do music, photography. Anyone with passion can probably become like top in their industry in a few years. Oh, I'm saying like again, like buttons come back. Good reminder. So moving on, around 25, 26, my friend Tony got me my first gig at a podcast company called Faustian Nonsense. Faustian Nonsense. Really, it was more like I was just there produce. I like produce songs from being their Discord server. Like the other voice actors do a lot of stuff, and every now and then if they needed me, they'd commit. Someone would commission me from the group, and that's where I started getting my first like paid production work, and also learning stuff about work. Because at this point, I've been cranking out melodies for fun like all the time, so I could think of them on the fly really quick, and I couldn't charge because I'm like, this only took me an hour. I don't want to. Everybody's working so hard, nobody's making a lot of money. I don't want to screw them out until the one day director is like, she asked me, how much do you want for this song you're doing for this big production we got? And I'm like, $35. I really wanted to charge 50, but in my brain I'm thinking this might be worth like 150, but I only told her 35. So she sends me 175 and she says stop undercharging. She's like, you're not only devaluing yourself, you're devaluing everybody around you. And there's somebody out there doing your job way worse than you are for a lot more money. Stop devaluing yourself. That was a good lesson learned. So value. Still undercharge myself a little bit now, but I'm getting better and better at it. And 27, that's when I think I left my church around 27, 27, 28. And then I went without church for a little bit, and then I got another church gig through my friend Noel, who also got me my first gigs. I think my first guitar gig was like at 26. So first guitar gig First guitar gig was like around 26, and I'd been playing for about a year and a half at that point. No. We said I started back in what, 20, around 23, 24, 2017. So now it must have been like 2 or 3 years. Oh, now I got like a little bit more in my brain. I might have bought that guitar, but I didn't really seriously start playing it. And the day I like really started sitting down and trying to practice it, I think that's when I started counting it, which was around like 24, 25. But yeah, I had it for a while. I'm just gonna say I've been playing for about 7 years. And like my first guitar gig, like I was so proud of telling everybody like they're like, how long you been playing? I'm like, 3 years. And they'd be like, whoa. It made me feel really good inside. But like, yeah, 27, 28, not much changed. I got my preschool job and went from making, I think like I quit around 26 or 27 from my full-time job. Wait, has it been that long? How long have I been in this preschool? One, two, three. Yeah, around this time, I quit my full time job to do music for a year, and that's what led to that first gig. Like, I didn't make a ton of money. I made some money here and there, and the whole time I was broke, I was the happiest I'd ever been. Driving to gigs with no gas in my car. Well, I say gigs, driving to play for free with no gas in my car until I got gigs. Going to open mics weekly, only making tiny incremental progress. Now that's a purpose. At this stage, I'm realizing I don't really want to play live that much. It's mostly recording stuff. Yeah, yeah, spent that time not making much money. Most happy I've ever been. And then 27, 28, 29. It's mostly been that same thing. I've been easing off like live stuff because I'm not that interested in. There's a bunch of people, like I've been looking at the gig scene like from my other musician friends, and like I see complaints about people like sweeping gigs from other people's feet because they take really small rates, paying for basically little to no money. And then and so I like kind of got this infatuated with that. So like the last, I'd say like 7 or 8 months, I've had like my own little cover band project. But like I told them the same thing. I'm like, look, guys, the gig market doesn't look great, and I'm not excited after talking to these disinterested vendors trying to like book spots and stuff. I'm not really that keen on going to play cover band gigs. It was fun when I first started, but it's not something I want to do right now. Uh, I clicked off the page. So then around So I've basically been focusing mostly on social media because it's something I really like doing, and it's something I love to. One of the real good reasons I'd love to make my income from this is just because I want to travel the world and not just like go to nice cities and eat at fancy restaurants. Now I want to like go to mountains. I want to go to deserts. I want to go to tropical places. I want to go to cold places. I want to just go to Africa. I want to just trek through some places. And I'd love to take a guitar on my back, record some songs while I do it, make some songs here, make some songs there. My dream right now is to have just like not anything crazy. I don't want like a big studio. I just want my own backyard shed studio. I think my ideal version of a studio would either be big enough extra room in a place I get, or like a shed in the backyard that I build from the ground up. So like I build the floor, separate the level so there's no like so that the noise doesn't come in from the outside. I insulate everything. I create it's kind of like Andrew Huang. I've seen a lot of studio tours, but Andrew Huang was the first person to really inspire me on that front. But yeah, that's my dream right now. So like 28, 29, I've been just keeping the same, like a little more social media. I posted a lot more in previous years. I slowed it down because I started full-time work at the preschool, whereas before it was like part-time. So I told them that I don't intend on coming back next year. So our preschool goes through the summer. This is gonna be me seeing my kids for the last 2 months, and us swimming, doing summer activities together. Not so much emphasis on learning, just letting them play, have fun, get to enjoy their company before I leave that profession. But yeah, that's like been. I'm pretty excited to devote more time to music. 'Cause I think the best time of my life for music was like that 27 to 28 range. I was like going to work from like 11:30 to 5:30, happy every day, in the flow state every day. Because since I went to work at 11:30, if I woke up around 7 or 8, I could just spend a few hours just noodling with guitar stuff, and that's how I did most of my practicing. Those are the hours I really want to practice, and even though I take my guitar to school with me, I don't get to practice as much as I like to because I gotta kind of be a teacher. Sometimes I'll sit down and play for the kids, work out a finger thing. Most of the times they're like, "Hey, can you give us some instruction?" So I'm about to turn 30, and yeah, that's what I've been doing for the last year. Those last two parts I told you what my current plan. So I turn 30 next month. 30, feeling the best I felt in most of my life. Like I'm getting in better shape. I think I'm stronger. I might be stronger than I was when I did Muay Thai. I don't really lift much, but just the calisthenics, like on the playground, I just hang from the bars and stuff, climb up to the top of the rock, the and like do dips, stuff like that. Calisthenics, run every now and then. Been eating bad, but I got back on the wagon and feeling great already, back into running and stuff. Feeling good for what's to come. And yeah, my plans for music right now are I just want to release an album. And even though albums aren't the best way to make money, it's just something I personally want to do because albums really I love listening to full albums, and being able to craft a story is something I want to do. I also want to release music like as an actual artist because all the music I've been making has been mostly just practice music. So I want to get back into actually writing and like putting something that truly comes from deep inside me down onto not really wax, but like WAV. Close enough. But yeah, those are my plans right now. And I'd say as far as music, I make about since I quit the church gig, I just do lessons. So like $50 an hour for a lesson isn't bad, but I don't have like many students right now. I have two students, and I don't like reach out to them for stuff because I've been kind of glad that with them being busy in their family lives, I can just coast for a little bit, get all this stuff together, get like have time to. I take lessons myself from all the great guitarists I see. So if I see a guitarist start putting up lessons, I'm like, let me go see what they got to offer. So doing that, doing my own lessons. I'll I'm not gonna leave my Calendly link in the description this time because there's some more stuff I want to work on before I start get into that instruction. But stick around if you want more content like this. This was even if you've made it this far, I thank you because this was actually a lot of fun to make for me to make. I might have started droning on at some point, but reminiscing and going through these last 20 years with you has been an absolute pleasure. I hope the universe gives you everything you deserve. It's never too late to start music, and have a good one.